New Year's Hats for the Statues by Yoshiko Uchida. Once a very kind old man and a woman lived in a small house high in the hills of Japan. Although they were good people, they were very, very poor. For the old man made his living by weaving the reed hats that farmers used to ward off the sun and rain, and even in a year's time he could not sell very many. One cold winter day, as the year was drawing to an end, the old woman said to the old man, "Good husband, it will soon be New Year's Day, but we have nothing in the house to eat. How will we welcome the new year without even a pot of fresh rice?" A worried frown hovered over her face, and she sighed sadly as she looked into her empty cupboards. The old man patted her shoulders and said, Now, don't you worry. I will make some reed hats and take them to the village to sell. Then, with the money I earn, I will buy some fish and rice for our New Year's feast." On the day before New Year's, the old man set out for the village with the 5 new reed hats that he had made. It was bitterly cold, and from early morning snow tumbled from the skies and blew in great drifts about their small house. The old man shivered in the wind, but he thought about the fresh warm rice and the fish turning crisp and brown over the charcoal, and he knew that he must earn some money to buy them. He pulled his wool scarf tighter about his throat and plodded on slowly over the snow-covered roads. When he got to the village, he trudged up and down its narrow streets, calling, "Reed hats for sale, reed hats for sale," but everyone was too busy preparing for the New Year's to be bothered with reed hats. They scurried by him, going instead to the shops where they could buy sea bream and red beans and herring roe for their New Year's feast. No one even bothered to look at the old man or his hats. As the old man wandered the village, the snow fell faster, and before long the sky began to grow dark. The old man knew it was useless to linger, and he sighed with longing as he passed the fish shop and saw the rows of fresh fish. "If only I could bring home one small piece of fish for my wife," he thought glumly, but his pockets were even emptier than his stomach. There was nothing to do but to go home again with his 5 unsold hats. The old man headed warily back into his little house in the hills, bending his head against the biting cold of the wind. As he walked along, he came upon 6 stone statues of Jizo, the guardian god of children. They stood up by the roadside covered with snow that had piled in small drifts on top of their heads and shoulders. Ma, you are covered with snow," the old man said to the statues, and setting down his bundle, he stopped to brush the snow off their heads. As he was about to go, a fine idea occurred to him. "I am sorry these are only reed hats I could not sell," he apologized, "but at least they will keep the snow off your heads." And carefully he tied one on each of the Jizo statues. "Now, if I had one more, there would be enough for each of them," he murmured as he looked at the row of statues. But the old man did not hesitate for long. Quickly he took the hat from his own head and tied it on the head of the 6th statue. "There," he said, looking pleased. "Now all of you are covered." Then, bowing in farewell, he told the statues that he must be going. "A happy new year to each of you," he called, and he hurried away content. When he got home, the old woman was waiting anxiously for him. "Did you sell your hats?" she asked. "Were you able to buy some rice and fish?" The old man shook his head. "I couldn't sell a single hat," he explained, "but I did find a very good use for them." And he told her how he had put them on Jizo, the statues that stood in the snow. "Ah, that was a very kind thing to do," the old woman said. "I would have done exactly the same." And she did not complain at all that the old man had not brought home anything to eat. Instead, she made some hot tea and added a piece of charcoal to the brazier, a metal pan for burning charcoal so the old man could warm himself. That night they went to bed early, for there was no more charcoal and the house had grown cold. Outside, the wind continued to blow the snow in white curtain that wrapped itself about the small house. The old man and woman huddled beneath their thick quilts and tried to keep warm. "We are fortunate to have a roof over our heads on such a night," the old man said. Indeed we are, the old woman agreed, and before long they were both fast asleep. About daybreak, when the sky was still a misty gray, the old man awakened, for he heard voices outside. Listen, he whispered to the old woman. What is it? What is it? The old woman asked. Together they held their breath and listened. It sounded like a group of men pulling a very heavy load. Yoisa! Hoisa! Yoisa! Hoisa! The voices called and seemed to come closer and closer. Who could it be so early in the morning? The old man wondered. Soon they heard the men singing. Where is the home of the kind old man, the man who covered our heads? Where is the home of the kind old man who gave us hats for our heads? The old man and woman hurried to the window to look out, and there in the snow they saw the 6 stone Hizo statues lumbering toward their house. They still wore the reed hats the old man had given them, and each was pulling a heavy sack. Yoisa, hoisa, yoisa, hoisa, they called as they drew nearer and nearer. They seemed to be coming here, the old man gasped in amazement, but the old woman was too surprised to even speak. As they watched, each of the Hizo statues came up to their house and left his sack at the doorstep. The old man hurried to open the door, and as he did, the 6 sacks containing came tumbling aside. In the sacks, the old man and woman found rice and wheat, fish and beans, wine and bean paste, cakes, and all sorts of delicious things that they might want to eat. Why, there's enough here for a feast every day all during the year, the old man cried excitedly, and we shall have the finest New Year's feast we have ever had in our lives, the old woman exclaimed. Ohiso-sama, thank you, the old man shouted. Ohiso-sama, how can we thank you enough, the old woman called out. But the 6 stone statues were already moving slowly down the road, and as the old man and woman watched, they disappeared into the whiteness of the falling snow, leaving only their footprints to show that they had been there at all. Read the sentence. 1. He pulled his wool scarf tighter about his throat and plodded on slowly over the snow-covered roads. What does the word plodded most likely mean? A. Walked quickly. B. Ran. C. Shivered. D. Proceeded with great effort. Number 2. Which sentence below best states the theme of the story? A. Good things come to those who wait. B. Kindness will be rewarded. C. Always wear a hat on a snowy day. D. Working hard pays off. Number 3. Why didn't anyone want to buy the old man's hats? A. It was too cold for reed hats. B. They were too busy preparing for their feast. C. They didn't like the way they looked. D. They thought the old man was foolish. Number 4. The author uses a word that means to walk slowly and with heavy steps in the text. Circle the underlined word in the paragraph that best shows that meaning. When he got to the village, he trudged up and down its narrow streets, calling, "Reed hats for sale, reed hats for sale," but everyone was too busy preparing for the new year to be bothered with reed hats. They scurried by him, going instead to the shops where they could buy sea bream and red beans and herring roe for their New Year's feast. No one even bothered to look at the old man or his hats. Number 5. Read the sentence. Outside, the wind continued to blow the snow in a white curtain that wrapped itself about the small house. What does the word curtain show the reader? A. It was snowing really hard. B. It was so windy that the old man and woman couldn't see past their curtains. C. It was so windy that the snow covered every part of the house. D. It was snowing so everything was covered with white.